Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is my 2021 C8 Corvette, which I've had just for over 3 years. And I've got a couple updates to share. I just ordered a brand new hood. The hood that I got is a ZR1 Style hood. Now when I first saw the ZR1, I was blown away by just how well that hood looked. And I thought, you know what, that would look so good on the C8. I'll do another video where I go into more details about that hood, but it's basically a ZR1 Style. All the ones that I've seen are carbon fiber, and I don't like the carbon fiber look, so I went with the gloss black. I got a really good price on it. So with the build time and the shipping from overseas, it's gonna take about a couple months. And so I can't wait for that hood to come in. I think it's just gonna look pretty sweet on this car. I think it's gonna look really nice. I think that ZR1 Style hood is gonna look so good on this car. I think it's a beautiful style hood. There's different variations, and I picked the one that I kind of like the most. And it took me a while to find it because I found all of the hoods that are out there are carbon fiber. And as you can see, I don't have really any carbon fiber on the outside. The one thing I don't like about carbon fiber is I find it sticks out too much. From a distance, it's gonna look like an off black. And I kind of like the cleaner look. A gloss black body with the carbon fiber hood. It looks a little busy to me. I like it just clean. And the other thing I don't like about carbon fiber is I would hate to imagine what it'd be like to do like rock chip repairs, like touch-ups on carbon fiber. That seems like a headache, something I don't want to deal with. That's why when I got these splitters, I didn't get carbon fiber. They're gloss black. Same with the side skirts. Those Z06 style side skirts, because they're easy to touch up. If I have a rock chip or something, I can just touch it up myself. But if that was all carbon fiber, like honestly, I wouldn't know what to do. So even this diffuser back here, there's an option to get that diffuser in carbon fiber, but to me, it just would have made it look busier, I think, in my opinion. So I like the black, all black out. I don't like carbon fiber pieces here and there on the outside. It's just not my taste. I just don't like it. So that's why it took me a while to find a manufacturer that will do this in a gloss black to match the factory paint. Man, I just can't wait. But anyways, on to the topic of this video. So what I want to talk about today is how much I paid to change the DCT fluid on my C8 Corvette. Also want to talk a little bit about servicing the transmission fluid, because I know there's a lot of confusion when it comes to this car and the maintenance requirements of the transmission. So let's get right into it. So right now we're in December. I changed the DCT fluid on the car back in September, so 3 months ago. So I document everything that I do to this car. I just want to point out, GM recommends changing the DCT fluid every 72,000 kilometers or 45,000 miles. However, if you read the service manual very carefully, on the footnote, it does state, or at least every 3 years. Since I've had this car, I bought it September 2021. I changed the DCT fluid in September 2024. So 3 years after owning the vehicle, I changed the DCT fluid, even though I'm nowhere close to having 72,000 kilometers on my car. And as for the filter, GM does ask you to change the DCT filter at the 12,000 kilometer or 7,500 mile mark. And then at every 36,000 kilometer or 22,500 miles thereafter, you change the filter. So you change the filter twice as often as DCT fluid. So yeah, it does get a little confusing. When I had mine DCT fluid changed back in September, I was well below that mileage. So 24,165 kilometers. I think that's about 17,000 miles. So I was well below the mileage interval for changing a DCT fluid. I don't daily this car, so I don't put a whole lot of mileage on it. So instead, you're going to be changing your DCT fluid every 3 years, which to me seems rather odd to be changing a transmission fluid that often, because a lot of transmissions now have lifetime fluid. Case in point, Porsche Cayenne. Porsche says these are lifetime fluid for the transmission. Don't ever need to change it. What they mean by lifetime may be different than what people think. People may literally think your lifetime, but no. Lifetime to me means 8 years. However, I would never go 8 years before changing the fluid. For example, on this Porsche, I changed the fluid, I think it was 2 years ago. After 5 years of owning the vehicle, well below Porsche's requirements. And I think the same should apply for a C8. However, the C8 Corvette transmission has been known to have some problems. So maybe with this type of car, maybe you want to go every 3 years just to be safe. Okay, but let's get into the costs, okay, because that's what I kind of want to go over. So, and here's a breakdown of what I paid to change a DCT fluid. 12 quarts of fluid, they charged me $50.64 for each bottle, total of $607, and the labor for that was $396. Total of $1,005 just to replace the transmission fluid. Looking over here, transmission premium fluid exchange, no filter replacement with pan drop. Now, the reason why I didn't get the filter replaced is I just replaced that myself just before. And I actually bought the transmission fluid from this dealership here. It's out of town. And their cost to me was $42.40. So my dealership charged me an extra $8 per bottle for 12 bottles, so an extra $100. So that's why this did not include the filter replacement, because I just replaced it myself before. And the total cost with everything, $1,111.07. Just to change the DCT fluid on the C8 Corvette. Now, I didn't want the dealership to change the filter because, first of all, they were going to charge $1,000 just to change the DCT filter, when all it really cost me was under 300 bucks Canadian for the parts and a couple hours of my time. So that's why I changed the filter myself, not just for the cost, but I just didn't have too much trust in the dealership in working with this car, being a new car and all. So I want to do the filter change myself, because that way I know for sure it's going to be done properly. Even when I went to change my DCT fluid, they were asking me if I want to replace the internal filter as well as the external filter. Now, again, that to me shows they're not understanding this vehicle. The only reason why you would change the internal filter on the transmission of the C8 is if you have transmission issues. So just the fact that they're suggesting to change internal filter really made me question their knowledge about this vehicle. So that's the second reason why I didn't want the filter changed by the dealership. So I'll do it myself. So the other thing I didn't have done is the DCT flush. Now, I've heard a lot of comments from C8 owners on the forum saying this DCT flush is necessary in order to retain your warranty, but that's not true. I actually posted a video where the chief engineer basically said straight out that the DCT flush does not need to be done.
Our next question is from Andy Bump from Corvette Forum. He says, what does the hydraulic system flush do, and should it be done every time the DCT external canister is replaced? That's a good technical question.
It is, so I'll take a start at it. The hydraulic system flush does kind of the way it's described. It forces transmission fluid through the fine filter, the filter that you replace. So at a dealership, they can hook up the dealer service tool to the car and run a routine that will tell the trans control module to do this fluid filter flush.
Okay.
And because the car is already hoisted on a rack, the technician's already got the panels off, there's some other work he's doing. This kind of happens in parallel in the background.
Okay.
So we're doing it at a dealer visit because we can, and we can take the last bit of whatever contamination might be in that oil and get it into the filter before the technician replaces it. Do-it-yourselfers have become nervous that, hey, now I can't do it myself. I don't have a service tool. I can't force this routine. You don't have to do the routine. Like I said, we do it because we can, but the fine filtering routine happens through normal driving anyway. In fact, when you're driving steady state, like say down the highway,
right,
we run a routine in the transmission that will force more of that fluid through the fine filter. So normal driving is doing this. If you are a do-it-yourselfer, you don't want anyone else touching your car, You can change the trans filter without running this routine.
Okay, that sounds good.
That ended the debate whether that DCT flush needs to be done. And no, it does not need to be done. And so GM recommends every 3 years to change the DCT fluid, which I will be doing. So going forward, every 3 years, I'll change the DCT fluid. It just seems really odd to me that a brand new vehicle requires this much maintenance on a transmission. I just changed the transmission on this vehicle. I don't think a lifetime transmission fluid exists. I don't think there's such a thing. Be proactive. Don't believe in a lifetime fluid. So that's why I changed the fluid on the Porsche. On this one, just because there's so much uncertainty about the reliability of this transmission, maybe I won't go 3 years. Maybe I'll just go every 2 years just to give me that peace of mind that the transmission is taken care of. So that's the plan for now. So what was the total cost with everything? $1,111.07. Keep in mind, this is Canadian. So that's how much it costs just to replace the DCT fluid on the C8 Corvette. Like, my dealership was going to charge me $1,000 to change a DCT filter. Like, that's crazy. So if you're not rich like me, you may want to consider doing that yourself, because it was actually quite easy to do. It took me 2 hours, a couple $100 for the parts. I've got a video you can follow along. There's lots of videos on YouTube on how to change a DCT filter. I thought it was rather straightforward, easy. So I saved, what, $700 just doing it myself. And I know it was done properly because I did it myself. I haven't had any issues with the transmission. This car has been perfect. In fact, all of my cars are kind of perfect. This is my second one. I've had this for 6 years. And before that, I had another Porsche Cayenne Turbo, 2003. I've had that for 5 years. Love it when it works. When it doesn't, it's a headache. But I've been pretty lucky. I think I've been getting off track. I've been talking about how reliable my vehicles are. I've never had a problem with this. Never had a problem with this Charger. It's new. I had a Charger SRT8, never had a problem. I had lots of high performance cars in the past, and I never had any issues with all of my cars. I try to do all the maintenance myself. But knock on wood, this one's been really good to me. She runs great. Great car. Fast, luxurious. Looks fantastic. It's a great daily driver. It's kind of my winter beater. I've had it for 6 years. I put a lot of mileage on it. So it does take a lot of abuse. And hasn't failed me. Yeah, I've never had a time where I had to come and start my vehicle and then start. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for that one. So that was my 21 C8 Corvette. I just showed you what it cost me to change the DCT fluid. I shared my thoughts on the filter, and I highly recommend you doing the filter yourself. Save yourself some money. But if you got money to burn, go ahead. Let the dealership do it. And the DCT flush, not necessary, but you heard from the engineers themselves, it's not required. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the next one. Drive safe.